So why are there endless opportunities in IP? Well, first of all, the addressable market for IP insurance is absolutely enormous, and it has been for some time. But the market has somewhat lacked a solution when it comes to IP insurance, and we're very excited to share the good news that at CFC we do now have a solution that is compatible with this addressable market, and it's very straightforward. So CFC's IP insurance is 1, a great product, and 2, a great process. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So my friend is head of marketing at a UK-based tech startup, and they manufacture and sell smart ski boots to countries all over the world. And he got in touch with me to say, we don't have any IP insurance, but I am keen to speak with you because we have just been sued for patent infringement, incidentally, right here in California. And he said to me, I'd like you to speak to our head of product engineering because this is the poor soul that has been tasked with resolving the dispute on behalf of their organization. And that's quite common for micro businesses. When they've had an IP infringement dispute, it basically lands on somebody's desk and they have to resolve it. So we had a discussion and had a telephone conversation, and their head of product engineering took me through the dispute, what had happened to date, and what their plans were to resolve it. And during the course of that conversation, he did say something slightly profound to me. He said that the big concern that we have is that we don't know if our lawyer is taking us for a ride. And from my perspective, I thought, well, you've given me hope. I'm sorry that it's come at your expense, but as an IP insurance provider, I'm absolutely delighted that you don't know whether your lawyer is taking you for a ride. Of course you don't know, because from your point of view, you are a small business that has hired an IP lawyer to resolve your IP dispute for you. So if your IP lawyer tells you we're going to do X and it's going to cost Y, you basically say, yeah, okay, you're the expert. So here was a small business that didn't buy any IP insurance, and as a result, by definition, they were self-insuring their IP legal risk. But I thought I would make you aware that we have now reached a tipping point in the IP insurance industry, that for small businesses, it now no longer makes sense to self-insure your IP legal risk. So we know IP disputes. We've been selling standalone IP insurance for 8 years, and over the course of that time frame, we have handled hundreds of IP disputes made as notifications to our IP insurance policies. Now that's actually quite a big data set, and we've learned a lot over that period of time by looking into these IP disputes, identifying trends, and essentially identifying and evaluating what is customary in resolving these IP disputes. So it puts us in a position now where we can absolutely tell our policyholders whether or not their lawyer is taking them for a ride. And that's particularly reassuring for these small businesses, and in some cases it can save them a lot of money. So I think it really makes sense, particularly when IP disputes can be so catastrophically expensive, to have access to that insight. We also know IP lawyers. So over the course of that period, we've dealt with dozens of law firms in territories all over the world, and that actually has created quite an extensive global network of IP geeks, essentially, who we can send into battle on behalf of our policyholders. So just to give you a little bit of insight into that process, it is actually the case that IP lawyers are tripping over themselves to be instructed by us as an IP insurance provider, because ultimately for them it is the potential for them to get easy repeat business. So it saves them a lot of money in prospecting for new business at their end. So what happens in practice, is that they pass on the cost savings to our policyholders by offering them lower hourly rates than they would otherwise make available to people who are instructing them on the open market. So that's a big cost saving. And you actually find yourself in a situation where sometimes lawyers that are working on cases on behalf of our policyholders are doing up to double the amount of work for every dollar spent than would be the equivalent on the open market. Again, that is a hugely beneficial factor to have in an IP dispute when it can be so expensive. Premiums are now much lower than they previously were. Some of you will have dealt with IP insurance inquiries in the past, and you might have found that the end premium has been particularly expensive. But there are now more purchasers of standalone IP insurance than ever before in history, and that means that premiums can come down because the data set is bigger. And at CFC, we've certainly looked at our portfolio and made sure that we're offering good rates in the areas that we should be. So we now find ourselves in a situation that we've got some policyholders on risk that are only paying a few $100s per year for their IP insurance premium. So that's how low the premiums have got over the time frame. So removing premium as a barrier has obviously been a big benefit for prospecting to micro businesses. But we've also looked at coverage at CFC. So in terms of what can happen, what costs can be incurred for an IP legal risk materializing. You can have disputes in respect of your products and services. You can have disputes in respect of the ownership of your IP, the validity of your IP. You can have third parties infringing on your IP. There's costs incurred to resolve those issues, and you can have elements of business interruption. So we've created a policy that can essentially cover all of those distinct legal exposures all in one place. And I think it's worth sort of mentioning, and it comes back to the point of it being a great product in a big addressable market, that we've got 7 heads of cover here, and only one of those, infringement defences, is slightly covered on other insurance policies. The fact is, if you want to get all of that coverage for your clients, the only way to do so is through an IP insurance policy. So I think, again, you've got a lot of exposure out there that can be insured, and it's just a question of clients being aware that it's possible to cover it. So that was talking a little bit as to why IP insurance is a great product. Just going to quickly shoot through why we think that this is a great process, and hopefully you'll find some of what I'm about to tell you quite interesting. How to get IP insurance from us. So as part of looking at ways to break down all the barriers to access IP insurance, we recognise that it can sometimes be difficult to get policyholders to fill in yet another proposal form on top of everything else that they're having to disclose. So we make that easy. We don't really want to see proposal forms as standard. We're very happy to work with you to make sure that we're getting quotes in front of clients in the easiest way possible. So please bear in mind that it is possible for us to indicate based on website and revenues only. That's all we need. There's no proposal form, there's no client call, there's no due diligence or any of that nonsense. We just want to get prices in front of clients, and we want to help you do that. Also, you can you can send through any other insurance application, and we can generally use that to come up with a quote. Renewal cross-selling is something that we've been doing as well. So if you do have any upcoming renewals on cyber or D&O or any other product line, and you think that this particular client might be a prospect for considering insuring their IP legal risk, please send it through, and we'll make sure that you've also got a quote for IP insurance to present to them. So again, it's dead simple, and we're happy to help. And then just to summarize what your IP quotes will look like. We have a service standard of 48 hours. So again, that was something that was tricky in the past on IP insurance, the length of time it takes to get a quote. We will make sure that we prioritize getting quotes to you. So 48 hours, but let us know if you have an urgent inquiry and we'll make it even faster. A large proportion of our quotes are subject to a one-page statement of fact rather than a proposal form. So it's essentially sign on the line and you can go on risk. And again, that is something that has proved very popular with our clients. Finally, we'll also include the claims example, so don't worry about trying to learn about IP insurance, because that itself can take time, and when you have something there in front of you that it just takes you through a claim from start to finish, generally that's enough for clients to be comfortable with how the policy works. So it's a great process. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks for listening.